So now we are about to plant together. We're going to transplant some brassicas and looks like maybe some Swiss chard into this bed. And as y'all know, it's important for us to do things with intention. So would anybody be interested in praying over these plants with us before we get started?
I could do it.
All right, cool.
So do I bring them over or we just leave it there?
Yeah, you can touch some and I'll
Okay.
touch some. And Falasha Day will touch some.
Okay. So, all right, we ready?
Yeah.
So, I want to ask before we put you all into this beautiful, flourishing soil that that you thrive. That the request is that you thrive, you grow as strong as you can, because it's people that really, really need to ingest you, and hopefully the power and nutrients that you have been given through Creator will transport into all that consumes it. May you be able to heal us, connect with us, and just strengthen us. So again, great intentions and just a great prayer that all is well, that during this journey of you growing and getting strong for us, that you get all that you need. Amen, amen, and Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you, Maika. So Maika just welcomed these plants through prayer, through love, and through verbal words into this space. It's really important process for us when planting is to welcome the new plants into the space as we're transplanting. So some basics around transplanting, y'all. I like to just loosen up the roots a little bit when I take it out, and that's just kind of to encourage them to spread out, encourage them to do their thing before we put them in the ground. And today we are planting, I think I said these are some sort of brassica. In the early stages, it's really hard to tell the difference between cabbage and collard greens. So these, and broccoli greens, honestly. Broccoli greens look the same as collard greens, and they kind of taste very similar. So we don't know what brassicas these are. I'm gonna say these is collards, and we'll just figure it out when they mature. What you want to do is, you see how much, how deep the roots are here? Looks like about 2.5, 3 inches. You want to dig at least that deep and maybe go a 1/2 inch deeper of a hole. So right now we're digging holes in the soil. And there are people have different methods of planting. Some people like to mound the soil around a plant. I kind of just welcome them into this space. So I plop mine down and I just cover it up with soil.
Nancy, can I ask you a question? Oh, go ahead. What's brassica?
Brassica. So brassica is the Latin name for the family that contains collard greens, kale, cabbage, broccoli, radishes, and arugula. There might be some others that I'm missing, but brassica is basically the Latin name for this particular plant family.
Interesting. I didn't realize arugula was a part of the brassica family. We normally eat it with lettuce.
Salads, yeah.
Interesting.
So many, plants, they'll teach you so much. The one thing that I want to say is important is to make sure that you want to make sure that it's sufficiently deep. So you don't want the plant to accidentally come up from like rain or wind or anything. So Maika, it looks like you got a pretty tall plant. Yeah. So you could go deeper than I went for this little baby one. Okay. The other thing to note.
How far apart?
Yes.
I was trying to count because I remember.
Okay, so when I planted these before, we did them about 12 inches apart.
12. Oh,
However,
wow.
I
Okay.
found that was too tight because they grew big and it was so packed that there was not enough air coming through.
Oh,
And
interesting.
the reason that
more-
air is important is because that helps the airflow. When you don't have good airflow, a lot of times some of the pests like aphids start to accumulate under the leaves of the collard greens. So adequate airflow actually helps in some ways to manage pests.
And
So I would say do about 18 inches to 2 feet.
So is this pretty good?
Yeah, I think that's good.
And
And
I'm
mine
good.
are
I did
really
this one real
small.
deep.
Yours are small, but yours will get big. So I would
Okay.
go. I would
Same.
Yep, about
Okay.
18 to 24.
Okay.
So this is a deep hole right here.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's deep.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is deep. That's deep in there.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think
And
that's.
then you put it loosely around it, right? Like just to let it air out, not like pack it tight down in there, so
You,
it can't spread.
yeah, you just kind of like you scoop it. So like scoop it around it,
Okay.
and it'll figure. These plants are so smart, y'all. Smarter than we give them credit for a lot of times, and they'll just do their
They'll
thing.
do what they gotta do. They'll look.
So Maika, I would spread a little more soil around that plant. So
Okay.
all that soil, that's right, exactly.
You know, it's like a grid almost.
So that's actually one strategy that people use when they plant and raise beds. And that's probably why a lot of people like raised beds, because you can kind of do the measurements a little bit easier. So this is a 4x8 bed. So theoretically, if I was planting 12 inches apart, I could fit 32 plants in here, right?
Right.
But that's what I did before. And gardening, farming is trial and error. You learn for the next time what you should do differently.
Okay.
Is it too close to this, Ashley, or I could put this one right here?
You don't want to put it right on the edge, but it's okay,
Okay.
if it's near the edge.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure out the spacing between this one.
Yeah.
Well, should I start a new row?
No, it's good if you put
Okay.
one more there. That's deep enough. That's plenty deep.
I was gonna say this when you said this big. That hole right there is deep. It's like always at the bottom.
So one practice that is indigenous to African agricultural practices, is called polyculture farming or intercropping. Do y'all know what that means? Polyculture?
It sounds like many different crops. I mean, just from the word poly.
Yeah.
Right. So in contrast, I would put that not quite as deep.
It's a little too.
Yeah. In contrast to monoculture farming, which is how a lot of the farming in the U.S. is, right? Like you farm one thing, you spray a bunch of chemicals, and you hope to get that thing to be perfect. Polyculture farming is when you have multiple crops. You're intercropping different plants because of the benefits they offer to each other. They help they help to deter certain pests, but also they do different things for the soil. Some plants will actually replace the nitrogen that some other plants absorb from soil.
Oh, really? Are
Yes.
there particular types of crops that really work well together?
Yeah, so sometimes people call it companion planting. One of the really famous companion group is basil and tomatoes.
Oh, yeah, that's why you have
That's
them up
why
in
you
the
eat
front.
it. And that's
Yeah, okay,
That's
so
why
that was intentional.
every tomato plant has a basil plant next to it.
That's why you eat them together.
Exactly.
Right?
It's
They-
so good
They
together,
taste
right?
good together.
Man, I think across every culture there's probably a dish with the two things together.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the three sisters?
The
What's
three
that?
sisters, yeah. So that's also indigenous to the Americas is the intercropping. The three sisters are corn, beans, and squash.
I knew that.
Yes, people native to Turtle Island have historically grown those three together because beans, right? Beans are legumes. What did we talk about legumes doing earlier, Maika? It's okay if you don't remember.
I forgot.
Legumes are nitrogen fixing plants, which means
Oh, I
they
wasn't gonna know
add
that.
nitrogen
Yeah,
to the soil. And nitrogen is one of the most important nutrients for plants in order to grow.
Oh, interesting.